You know, I've periscoped these before, and you get all these weird comments in the feed afterwards, like, someone tell him to tuck his shirt in, and tell him, I wish I could say, tuck your shirt in, or there's something on his nose, what's on his tie, you know, all the real important stuff. And then you look back at it later, and you're like, yeah, that shirt does look bad. Watch the cords, please. Okay. All right, you guys, I think we're going to get started. I don't want to punish anybody who was on time. So, first of all, thank you very, very much. I really, really appreciate you guys taking your time out of your Saturday to come down and, something fell. Man down. Oh. The important part. Thanks, Kim. It just extends. Just stretch it. There we go. Am I in there?
I'll go see.
Does it look good? Does it look as good as it's going to look with me in there?
I think there's something on your tie.
Yeah, exactly. It's this U of M pin, which is actually U of M pin number 2, because the last time I gave this talk, I threw it in the car and it got lost in the car somewhere. But anyway, thank you very, very much for taking time out of your busy Saturdays to come hear us speak. I really do appreciate that. It's going to be me and Holly, and we're going to have to Skype Tyler live because Tyler had a layover in Atlanta, and Atlanta got a dusting of snow, and they don't know what to do with that down there like we do. So, which is not their fault. That's why people move to Atlanta, so they don't have to deal with where the air hurts their face, right? So once again, thank you very much. Me and Holly are going to be live. I'll give my presentation. I'm going to try to keep mine under an hour, which is hard for me to do. And then we're going to have a little break, and then Holly's going to go, and then we're going to have a little break, and then we're going to Skype Tyler in live. If not, if that doesn't work, if the internet doesn't support that, he pre-recorded one for us too, and we can ask him questions too. Yes, sir?
What about peanut gallery questions?
We're going to do that all at the end.
Yeah.
Okay? We're going to do a Q&A with me and Holly, and hopefully Tyler can do that part live too, so we get his attendance. We have another person out. All right, so that being said, we're going to get started here. First and foremost, I have to put this up there. This is my lawyer's legalese because I'm not a registered dietitian. I can offer coaching advice. I am a biologist, so you actually get a biological perspective on what's going on in your body and some of the science behind it, even though this presentation won't be that sciencey. We will give you a taste of it, and I will explain some of the basic mechanisms and how some of the things work and some of the common questions that I've had over the last 4 or 5 years when I started this diet. Some of the things that I hope to cover today is we're going to go over my experience because I think that adds a lot of relatability because I've been exactly where you guys are before, looking for answers. We're going to explain what exactly is the difference between a Paleolithic or natural human diet, and then what is the difference between a ketogenic diet and how to set one up real basic. Okay, we're going to talk about some of the basics that are wrong with a with a modern diet and are common in a natural human diet. Some of the things that paleo takes out that we have been programmed by the last 100 years or so of good marketing that we normally deem natural and healthy. We're going to talk about how we actually get fat. How many people are here strictly for weight loss? Just in general. And maybe some metabolic diseases and some of the type 2 diabetes in the family or heart disease or anything like that. And maybe even the big C word, something like that. A lot of research for ketogenic diets, which we're going to cover briefly there because there's not a lot of that been released yet. Any athletes in the room? Interested in performance with ketogenic diets? Okay. I ask these questions just so I know where I can really dig in if we have to. Okay. That being said, let's get started. Okay, so this is always a threat that's out there. I've been working on this book for almost 4 years now. It is not easy to do because I now travel all over the world going to seminars just like this, and I keep getting more information. And every time I go to another seminar, like I went to Vail last year and heard Jeff Gerber and Doug Reynolds and Jimmy Moore and Dr. Eads and all these guys speak, as soon as I hear that, I'm like, I got to add that to the book. And anybody who's ever attempted to write a book or something like that knows exactly what I'm going through. So that's a big threat out there, but I do have a publisher that's asking for some information now. So at least a version of it should be out soon. So, where did Jamie start? Where I mentioned just a minute ago that I was in the same exact position that you guys were. Okay, I was 30-somethings, 35, 36. I just had my second child, or my wife had my second child. I was there. We had a daughter, and I started taking a closer look at my mortality. I started looking at things like, well, mid-30s, early 30s, you're starting a family now. That's kind of a jip to them because my previous generation, my parents' generation, they did everything, boom, right out of high school, right? So they were still very young and energetic and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, maybe I better start taking a closer look at my health. And then in that same chain of events, I happened to be at my doctor's office for a routine physical, and he looks at me and says, Jamie, there's a direct correlation between belly fat and heart disease. And I'm thinking to myself, who is he talking to? Because I'm a competitive power lifter, and I work out, and I'm drug-free, and I'm in shape. Where is this coming from? So I'm starting to think about it a little more, and I bring up this comment in the gym, and I say to my friends, I say, you know what, I'm thinking about leaning back out and getting my six-pack back. And granted, now mind you, I think I am 10 pounds from it. Okay, I don't think I'm 50 pounds from it. And I just am met with roars of laughter. And I am just like, all right, this is maybe a little more serious than I thought. And I happen to catch this picture of myself on the left. Your left, yeah, on the left. And I was like, what I noticed first was, I go, my neck and head are the same size. I go, and in the guy world, that's kind of a masculine thing, a big, thick neck. But I looked down a little lower underneath my arm, and I was like going, look at that Dunlap. When, you guys know what a Dunlap is, when your belly Dunlap over your belt. And I was like, holy cow, who is this guy? So, and I kept looking and thinking, and then I came across the reason of why I really wanted to make this change. Sorry, I promised not to do this every time, but I can't help it. And those guys are what really made me to make this decision. I wanted to be around longer. Not only did I want to live longer, because we have found a way to keep us alive longer, right, with modern medication and pills, okay? But I wanted to be healthy. I wanted to be able to crawl around on the floor. I wanted to be able to dance with my daughter. I wanted to be able to do fun stuff. And I wanted to be able to go to the water park and run up the stairs, 144 stairs, 50 times at Splash Village in Frankenmuth, and be able to not bat an eye about it. I wanted to be able to do that. Come on, Dad, let's go. F yeah, let's go. And I wanted to be able to do that. And these are the guys that really pushed me to do that. Okay, so there's one thing I want to clear up right away. Okay. I want to talk about the difference between what is a paleo diet and what is a ketogenic diet, because in years past I've had people come back to me and say, I still don't understand what keto paleo is. And I'm going to do this a couple of times in the presentation. Okay. A paleo diet, or a natural human diet, or sometimes referred to a caveman diet, is a diet that consists of foods that we ate during our evolution. So 2.5 million years of evolution, okay? So what that really is a grocery list. It's meats, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Anything that if you were buck naked on the savannas of Africa and you had a stick and a rock, what could you eat? And those are those foods. And this is to take away, all right. This is to take away, factory things that have caused us problems. Like some would say, oh, there's no way you could eat raw meat. Well, yeah, probably not from a factory farm. that we have now because it's just full of bacteria and feedlot funk and all those other kinds of things. But from an evolutionary standpoint, yes, no problem, hunt and gather. What is a what is a ketogenic diet? A ketogenic diet is a diet in which you manipulate your macros, which are fat, carbohydrate, and protein, and we're going to talk about that near the end, to take your body to a point of nutritional ketosis. Not ketoacidosis, but nutritional ketosis. And what that basically does is takes you from a sugar-burning metabolic pathway to a ketogenic or fat-burning metabolic pathway. Okay. There's nothing really fancy in here, and we're going to talk about this. These are two metabolic pathways that are built into our DNA that are perfectly acceptable fuel sources. And actually, the one may be more preferential than the other, and we're going to talk about that. So here we go. What is that paleo diet? Natural human diet, hunter-gatherer, meat, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. There's no processed food. There's no dairy. There's no beans. There's no grains. There's no tubers. Okay, and I printed up a bunch of my current eat, don't eat sheets that I hope you all grabbed on your way in. That's a nice little grocery list, if you will, or a little reminder. It doesn't have everything on there because you could go nuts trying to add everything to that sheet, but it's a good Cliff Notes version. And that I keep saying currently because as I gather more and more information, like I said, I go to these things all over the world now. As I gather more and more information, I'm one of those guys that'll take that information, process it, and update mine. If I find out tomorrow that I am wrong about one thing, I won't stand true to those guns. I'll let you know, hey, given the information provided at the time, that's what I gave you. I don't mind coming back saying, hey, look, this is what we know now, this is what it's going to be. Some of the benefits of a normal paleo diet. Okay, so back to my evolution, I started down that pathway of just a general paleo diet first. Jamie didn't go full keto paleo in the beginning, okay? I leaned into that thing, okay? And some of the things that I noticed just going normal paleo was less inflammation. My blood profile turned around really well. Weight loss and faster recovery for my training. Like I remind you, I was a competitive power lifter. So as I started making these slow transitions, I started noticing these health benefits. And by slow transition, I really mean it was slow. Okay, I was a 250-pound shop vac. Okay, I ate everything in sight. If we all went out and we went dancing to the bar or whatever, and we went to breakfast afterwards, I was finishing what you didn't eat. Okay, and I was known for it. It was almost a game to see how much Jamie could eat. I had this conversation with a coworker the other day. She remembers going to lunch with me, and we go to these Asian buffets, and she would try and pace myself to every other plate that I would eat. So if that gives you an idea how much Jamie ate, that was one big fat Italian there. He loved to eat. Okay, so I started my transition with just breakfast. Okay, I found a way that I could incorporate that paleo diet into just breakfast. Okay, I'm not a feet first kind of guy. I realize that if it's going to be a lifestyle change, I need to ease into this or lean into it. Okay, so I started with breakfast, and that was easy. That was eggs, bacon, a bowl of fruit. Just no toast, water, and I was good to go. Rest of the day was normal. I started noticing a little difference. I'm an outside salesman, so I drive around. I professionally take people to lunch by day. Okay, so I found a way to incorporate breakfast, dinner. Okay, that was my next transition. And I am now. This is weekdays still. Weekends was still pretty much wide open. Okay. And I started reeling it in a little more. Well, you know what? I kind of like this breakfast. There's no reason I can't eat eggs, bacon, and a bowl of fruit on Saturday and Sunday, too. As a matter of fact, it's easy. I kind of like it. Who doesn't like bacon, right? I mean, they got these commercials all over the place. So that was easy. That's the next part of my transition. And I'm noticing that this distended gut that I had is starting to come back. I'm noticing less and less inflammation. My asthma is starting to go away. I had asthma since I was a little kid. It was an inflammatory, systemic inflammation in my body from eating all this bad food. It started going away. So one morning on the treadmill, I'm running, and I gun that thing up as fast as it'll go, and I can't give myself an asthma attack anymore. So I'm like, there's really something to this. I'm going to go as paleo as possible and give myself a cheat day. Well, it was originally Fun Friday, which everybody knows that if you start this thing on Friday, it smears through the whole weekend. Anyone who's tried to diet before, right? So it became Sunday. So I was able to stick to a pretty good diet Monday all the way through Sunday. Then I noticed huge differences. I used to get a little arthritis in my knuckles, and my dad had rheumatoid arthritis really bad, so I was assuming it was coming down the pike for me. And I would bump a knuckle and it would send lightning up my arm. That went away. So I'm starting to notice more and more health effects, more so than I'm noticing fat loss. It got to the point where the fat loss and the aesthetics of this became a side effect. And my health was the better thing, which in the bigger picture of all this is really what it comes down to, because I was looking for happy, healthy longevity, run up the stairs, play with the kids, not be on pills by age 50. That's where it really started rearing its head. So that was more and more motivation for me. I'm not going to say that there wasn't a lot of blowouts along the way. Okay, this was a process over a year of finding my way and reading and reading and reading and reading. Okay, lots of books, and I can shoot you guys lists of books that are really good for beginners. If we have some dietitians and nurses in here that want to take it to the next level, I have science, journal articles, all that kind of stuff that I can bump to you too, okay? So I keep reading, and notice more and more, and I finally get to the point where I have one cheat meal Sunday night, and I'm feeling like a rock star. Everything's good in the hood, and that was really, really good. So some of the issues that you run into when you start looking at a Paleolithic diet is one of the first things you get is that all natural healthy whole grains. There's a lot of marketing done behind that. Okay, if you go down the cereal aisle, it's a stamp on every single box, right? Okay, so here's just a list of grains, and this is on that list that I gave you too. Some of the problems right off the bat is, there's a lack of vitamins. There really is nothing that comes from natural, healthy whole grains. There's really nothing in there unless they fortify the bread, which basically means that they're grinding up multivitamin and pouring it into the loaf of bread anyway, right? So at that point, you can't really make the argument that natural whole grains have that built into it, okay? One of the biggest offenders of this whole meal thing is it's a huge carb load, okay? It's a huge dump of sugar or carbohydrate. And we're going to talk about how carbohydrate breaks down into glucose a little later on and how that will affect your blood sugar. Does anyone in here test their blood sugar by any chance? Is there any? Okay. Are you diabetic or just do you happen to test it? Okay. You're along the keto bandwagon? All right, cool. We'll talk about that a little bit too. So that's a huge carb load for a lot of people, and that's a big offender of a lot of the metabolic diseases that we have today. As a matter of fact, to add insult to injury, is it not very nutrient dense, but it also has a lot of anti-nutrients built into it, and we're going to talk about that in a second too. So I can get this to you guys too. This is a little matrix that I found online that kind of explains where you can get a lot of your vitamins, and people will make that argument that, well, where do I get my vitamins from? The truth is you get a lot of them from meats and vegetables, and that grains really don't have a whole lot going for them in the first place. Okay, so what are the anti-nutrients? And we name them out as lectins, phytates, alkaloids, goitrogens, gluten, and saponins. Okay, so gluten's a big one. You hear a lot of the anti-gluten stuff out there. Mixed emotions about that. Yes, gluten is probably pretty much the devil out of the whole bunch of them, because there's a lot of stuff. Systemic inflammation comes from them. Protein mimicry comes from them. celiac disease is the thing that rears its head when it's the absolute worst. But there's a lot of stuff going on at a brain level with gluten allergies now that there just really isn't a way to get a whole handle on. There's more